And at the same time, I believe I've always represented talent more than hard work. I'm very lucky in life. I tend to, things do sometimes fall into my place, but I do believe intention attracts luck. So even though I'm in the mental health industry, I have a 100% success rate. I've never failed a single client of my life. Yeah, I do follow eligibility criteria. I qualify and disqualify my clients. Most of the people do not come with a goal. They come with a result in their mind. I believe self-awareness is key. खुद को जानना चाहिए अच्छे से. पूछो सवाल खुद को. पूछो खुद को कि क्या कर रहे हो आज. पूछो खुद को तुम इधर पहुंचे कैसे. पूछो खुद को जिधर तुम्हें पहुंचना है ये रास्ता उधर जाता भी है जिस रास्ते पे तुम हो. अगर ऐसे सवाल तुम खुद को पूछते हो ना, मतलब तुम जेन्युइनली खुद के लिए सोच पा रहे हो. Women were raised always knowing what to expect from men and how to be treated. And men were always raised on respecting women and how to treat them. So you all never really understood how to treat us and what we expect. I think there's a certain disparity between there. I do believe today most men know exactly what women want. That's why we work towards it to become desirable. I don't think most women know what men want. We live in a world where most men are really criminalized now.
Hi, my name is Priyanka and Celebrania has started this new segment called Beyond the Spotlight. Today, we have with us Yathash, who is a successful businessman and a mindset coach. Through this podcast, we'll get to know the best practices to have a healthy mind and body. Also, we'll understand the perspective of men and women in relationships. Most importantly, you will get to know when do you need a mindset coach. Over to you, Yathash.
Thank you so much, firstly, for having me, Priyanka. It's wonderful to be here, and of course, it's a pleasure to speak with you again.
I'm really excited because I have so many questions around this myself. This whole mental health thing has become very important nowadays, and I really want to understand from you, how did you start this journey? Why a mindset coach?
For sure. To be very honest, this journey is very, very, very personal to me, I would say. It started off with me running my first business that was in personalizing medical care. It was in facilities management. My business was doing really well. Meanwhile, while I was doing that, it was 3 years down the line when I realized one of my friends, we were just having a very regular conversation. And he went on to ask me that, money is good, work is good, you're doing that. I hope you're happy. And that was the time I think I realized that I wasn't. I realized that while I was earning money, while life was good, my family was progressing, I wasn't really fulfilled, I would say. I don't believe in happiness a lot. I believe in fulfillment more than happiness. I believe in having rooted beliefs rather than chasing on and off emotions. So, well, to get back to the story, while I was talking to him, I realized that I was doing something which was very monotonous. It wasn't creative enough. And at the same time, I believe I've always represented talent more than hard work. I'm very lucky in life. I tend to, things do sometimes fall into my place, but I do believe intention attracts luck. So moving on from there, when I realized I was not doing something I really wanted to do, I took 3 months in the second lockdown and I traveled to Goa. I stayed there for around 2.5 months. I had a lot of questions towards myself. So while I figured out these questions, I got these answers from within. That's when I figured out my own purpose. That purpose led me to mindset coaching.
Oh, nice. So this is the purpose of your life. This is not just a goal.
Yes, I would say so, because I do believe when your life has a purpose, your career can become a cause.
That is true. But don't you think a lot of people do not have a purpose in their life, or they're still figuring out? For those people, how do you help them figure out their purpose in their life? Like, what is the message for those people who don't have any purpose in their life?
For sure. I would say it's actually quite easy. Think about it this way. Now, for all your viewers watching it right now, they can figure out if they know their purpose or they don't, right? Let's figure it out right now. All right. A purpose is nothing but a criteria. A purpose has to fulfill a criteria. The criteria is quite simple as it gets. तुम्हारा फायदा होना चाहिए, पर जब तुम्हारा फायदा हो रहा है, सबका फायदा और भी ज़्यादा होना चाहिए. If what you do fits in that criteria, then yes, you have a purpose.
I think you made it really sound really simple, and I think people should, according to you, then look inwards and see what how they want to help people. What if people don't think about people that much?
To
which
be
is
very
fine.
honest with you, before that, I think most people cannot even stare at their own reflection.
So you have seen cases where people have found it really hard to figure out what's their purpose in life.
It's even harder for them to accept who they are.
And
If I sit across someone and while I speak to them, it's usually, it baffles my brain most of the times how less people usually know of themselves.
I want to be surprised. I want to hear some stories where you have seen several cases, right? Several different cases. So what is the most common thing that arises every single time with conversation in a conversation with your clients?
Of course, I can't get into the details of my clients because I sign very heavy NDAs and unnecessarily I would get into trouble. You would get into trouble. Celebrania would get into trouble. And I don't think it's worth the issue. But I can definitely tell you the baseline issues most people face. To put it in a very, very, very simple sentence, you can say कि खुद को नहीं जानता और खुदा को जानने निकला है.
तो खुद को जानना बहुत जरूरी है.
बहुत जरूरी है.
और
I
वो
think
जर्नी कहाँ
self-awareness
से
is
स्टार्ट
key.
होता है, मतलब खुद को कैसे जान सकते हो आप?
By asking yourself simple questions. You need to ask yourself, who are you? What are you doing? Or otherwise, you can just ask yourself, what? So what? Now what?
Right. So ये mindset coach आप बन गए, then you just started doing these practices. You started having clients. Initial days must have been a little on the lower side. ऐसा भी रहा होगा.
I was touchwood very fortunate with that. While I was coming up with my module, while I was still figuring out exactly what kind of coaching I want to get into. So of course I got into life coaching first. Moving on from there, I had to really niche down. That happened with a lot of samples, a lot of cases I took on absolutely for free because I realized this the day I started doing this, that this is not something I'm going to do for money. Money drives me, of course. Money drives everyone because money is nothing but a tool to buy freedom today.
Right.
And who wouldn't want to be free?
Right.
Who doesn't want to be free, right?
Right.
I mean, isn't that the goal for everyone sitting here as well?
Right.
Eventually, they want to stop doing whatever they're doing and live their life on their own terms.
Right.
I'm on the same path.
So
Maybe a few chapters ahead.
Nice. Like more power to you. So life coach आपने mention किया, life coach और mindset coach में difference है
बहुत
क्या?
difference है. When you look at as a life coach, your basic thing becomes quite vague. I wanted to really niche down and hit points where I could only do it. Like for example, I've realized one of my main core skills is understanding exactly what people say versus what they mean. Most people face a lag over there. What they think versus what comes out of their mouth. It still holds a certain lag in the middle. I'm very good at reading that lag and translating it back to them.
Okay, तो आपका मतलब आप जब इन लोगों को help करते हो, so do they come up with a goal in their mind like this should be the output after 3 months, and do they reach there? Like what's the success rate?
Wow, that is really interesting to get into. So even though I'm in the mental health industry, I have a 100% success rate. I've never failed a single client of my life. Yeah, I do follow eligibility criteria. I qualify and disqualify my clients. Most of the people do not come with a goal. They come with a result in their mind.
Right.
They come to me and they ask me, this is the result I want. How
Okay.
do I navigate till there? Can you help me strategize, build on this? And that's exactly what I do.
Okay. So ये qualification, disqualification किस basis पे होता है आपका?
It depends on their need to change. I believe people only change when their need to change becomes greater than their need of being the same.
And how do people realize that there is this big need for change? Sometimes people are uncomfortable. They feel like, okay, I want my body certain way, I want my face certain way, but then they really don't get the energy to do it, or they're not motivated enough. So in that situation, how would you understand that the need is so high or not? Because they want it really bad. Like I really want a good figure, I really want a good face, great mental health, but then I don't know if the need is so high. So how do you figure that out when I myself don't know?
For sure, I can brief on that. So my ex-girlfriend, this is a very simple story. Let me tell you a little about my ex-girlfriend. This one fine time, I remember we were sitting after a very romantic evening. We were sitting together. We were just having coffee. While she asked me, so Yathash, you don't really need me, do you? And while I looked at her and I told her that you're the first thing I would choose, but you're the last thing I need. She felt really offended on that. And I don't blame her. But to understand what it means really is, there's a difference between want and need. You want a good figure.
Right.
You want a good life. Are you willing to actually get it though? Because I do strongly believe that if you try your best, you can't fail. Did you try your best becomes the question then.
Did you try your best? I think, yes, I think this is one important question that we need to ask ourselves. Like, do we try our best? Do we give our best? But then, Yathash, very important thing is that a lot of people are facing depressive symptoms. They are not healthy mentally. So in that situation, a lot of people would see a need, but then they would not feel the energy or the power to just get up, get out of their bed and do something about it. So my biggest question is, when do you know, or how do you feel like this, I should go to a therapist, a psychiatrist, or a mindset coach? How that distinction happens? How should I know what is best for me at this situation? What is the question that I should ask myself to get an answer, that which should I choose out of three?
Understood. So if we talk about depression in particular stage, now I'll be very honest with you, neither am I licensed, neither am I qualified to diagnose things. So I don't do that. I follow a very holistic approach. I believe the one size fits all method doesn't work. Like for example, let's say a cap. जो टोपी मुझे फिट आएगी वो तुम्हें भी फिट आएगी, वो उन्हें भी फिट आएगी, वो उन्हें भी फिट आएगी, right? But shoes don't work the same way. I follow a very different approach to this. The difference between a psychiatrist, a therapist, and a mindset coach are a lot. They are very different. I would say let's try to use an analogy. Let's try to use a story here. ठीक है? Imagine एक नदी है. There's a stream of water. और एक बंदा बोट पे रो कर रहा है उसे, and continuously people who are afloat, he's keep picking them up and putting them on the boat. वो करते करते ये साइड से वो साइड जाता है. He drops these people off, and he again rows back, and people who've fallen in an afloat now, he picks them up. It's a very noble profession. This is called being a therapist. He just helps in healing, and it's a specialist who works at a particular sort of mental illness in a particular way, right? A psychiatrist is someone who cures a mental illness. अगर वो पानी में डूब गया तो उसको CPR देना, उसे रिवाइव कैसे वापस करना, that will be a psychiatrist's job, right? A mindset coach is very different. A mindset coach will probably tell you how to not fall in the water. Or if you want to go swimming, first learn how to swim. That's the only difference between all three of them.
Right. I think I got my answer, and I think a lot of people would have. So what is really important to understand here is a therapist and a psychiatrist could help you heal, and if there is any deep down issues that you have, they can help you resolve them. But a mindset coach would help you work on maybe issues like self-confidence.
Yes.
Small issues could
Exactly.
also be cured. When, like, there could be people who are absolutely healthy mentally, physically, but at the same time they might be struggling with one or two things, stage fear maybe,
Of
and then
course.
they come to you. So
I mean,
am I right?
close to as good as it gets, I would say.
Okay. So ये लोग जो अलग अलग प्रॉब्लम लेके आते हैं, अब काफी लोग मेंटली हेल्दी भी होते होंगे और उनके छोटे छोटे प्रॉब्लम्स रहते होंगे. सो व्हाट काइंड ऑफ प्रॉब्लम्स और issues that you have mostly seen, like 4-5 issues, if you can tell me, because our viewers can really relate with that if they also have those issues and they can go to a mindset coach then.
Definitely. Okay, I'll tell you one of my craziest stories I've come across. All right. Now, this is a 45-year-old man. He's a doctor, very successful for his life. However, he had an injury and he was at home for, I would say, around 6 to 9 months. Now, while he was at home, when I met him, he was, for the first 20 minutes, all he did was rant about how annoyed he was. He told me, if you have a list in front of you with questions, please do not ask me. I've done this so many times. I've gone to multiple therapists. If you're going to tell me that, I need to calm down and I need to journal, then I think this is a waste of time. He went on and on and on. At one point, when he finally calmed down, I asked him, have you come here to rant or have you come here for a solution?
Right.
It's as simple as it gets. Now, understanding this guy's problem was very fascinating to me. This guy spent his whole life ना, आप कभी डॉक्टर से मिला? Perfect. कभी उनको जाके पूछना कि उन्हें जिंदगी कितनी जी है. These guys go to college, then they go to med school, then they go to PG residency, then they go to internship, then they become a doctor. These are actually people who've really sacrificed an entire youthful life. It takes real courage and drive to achieve something like this.
Right.
So forget things like having a personal life, having a social life, or even in understanding what social responsibilities are, or even understanding what how to behave in a certain way if you are put in a difficult place. They are never prepared for things like this. They pretty much learn everything on their own. So this guy's issue was that when he sat at home, so he lived his entire life fulfilling his duties, fulfilling everything else, gave a good life to his family. Now when he was sitting at home, all he heard was everywhere where he went wrong. He's sitting there and he's asking me कि यथाश it feels like पिक्चर चल रही है और मैं बीचों बीच चला हूँ पिक्चर के बीच में. मुझे तो समझ में नहीं आ रहा है क्या हो रहा है. Because everyone here is telling me a very different story.
Right.
My wife is telling me how I've not been there for her. My kids are telling me how I was always missing from their life and I'm not a good father. And even after realizing that giving up the life I wanted versus doing exactly what I have to do, and even then I'm learning this. It feels like I almost died for someone. I came back and they are asking me कि पर तू मरा तो नहीं ना. It's really sad to see most men really feel this way. We live in a world where most men are really criminalized now. So when I heard that, I looked at him and I was like, what would you say to someone like that? Let me share what I told him. I told him, see, I cannot tell you what happened with you is right or what you did was wrong. I'm not going to get into that. It's not my job, I would say. However, I believe if I was put in the same place, I'll give you my perspective. अगर if I walked into a mid movie, that means picture कोई तो बैठ के देख रहा था. I would first look at them, apologize for the fact that I am so sorry for disturbing your experience. Then I would go sit with them. Then my bond with them should be so nice and so good that they would catch me on कि चल क्या रहा है movie में. And don't you think that would be a much pleasurable way of enjoying the experience of watching the movie with them? That's what I told him.
तो उसके बाद फिर next step आपने उनके लिए क्या किया? Like, you made a plan for him?
Yeah, I created a strategy for him. So this is exactly what I do. Imagine today who you are is Island 1, right? Your mind shows you a better version of you. Correct? That's how we set aspirations, goals, dreams, everything. Let's call that Island 2. As a mindset coach, I help people navigate a strategy from Island 1 to Island 2. That's exactly what I do.
ओके बट सबसे बड़ा एक जो अभी आजकल हम किसी को भी अगर बोलते हैं बिकॉज माइंडसेट कोच कम्स एट अ कॉस्ट एंड आई थिंक इट्स अ सिग्निफिकेंट कॉस्ट एटलीस्ट मेरे साथ ये हुआ है व्हेन आई वाज फिगरिंग आउट अ गुड कोच फॉर माई सेल्फ एंड आई वाज फीलिंग रियली लो इन लाइफ एंड आई डिड नॉट हैव द राइट मोटिवेशन देन आई आस्क्ड some of my friends that I am signing up for this. I want
Did they tell you कि भाई तू मुझे पैसा दे दे, मैं कर रहा हूँ तो मैं बात करूँगा?
Yeah, right. So ऐसा होता ही है. लोगों को ऐसा लगता है कि वो सब कुछ जानते हैं और वो खुद से सब कुछ फिगर आउट कर सकते हैं और उनको ये भी लगता है आई थिंक बहुत बड़ा मिसकंसेप्शन है जो मैं स्पेशली इस एपिसोड के थ्रू दूर करना चाहती हूँ लोगों का कि जब वो बिल्कुल डिप्रेस होंगे तभी उनको एक कोच की ज़रूरत पड़ेगी. उससे पहले जो छोटे छोटे इश्यूज़ हैं या कोई भी जैसे मुझे एंजाइटी है कि मैं ऐसी क्यों दिख रही हूँ, मुझे कुछ चीज़ें ठीक करनी है, तो लोगों को लगता है कि कोच क्या ही बोलेगा या दोस्त क्या बोलेगा कि अपना जिम कर लो, योगा कर लो, मेडिटेशन कर लो, जर्नलिंग कर लो, वही 4-5 चीज़ें. कोच भी वही बोलेगा. सो माई फ्रेंड्स वर लाइक यार तू मुझे दे दे 40-50 हज़ार रुपये, क्या ही करना है, नोट ही तो रखना है ना कि यू डिड दिस टास्क टुडे और नॉट. मतलब माइंडसेट कोच बहुत लोग समझ भी पाते हैं क्या कॉन्सेप्ट है बट एट द सेम टाइम बहुत लोगों को ये वेस्ट ऑफ मनी भी लगता है.
Of course.
So उस चीज के लिए आपका क्या कहना है?
For sure. Let's look at it this way. So what you're saying is when someone is depressed, they should go find out a mindset coach. Would that also go on to see के सर के ऊपर पानी चला गया है तब जाके you want to find a mindset coach? My question is very simple. अगर पानी सर के ऊपर चला गया, that means it was clearly progressing eventually. You did not just jump into the water. Correct?
Right.
तो ankles तक पानी पहले आया होगा, फिर knees तक आया होगा, फिर waist तक आया होगा, टॉर्सो कवर हुआ, सर कवर हो गया, तुम लोग इतना रुकते क्यों?
तो
इतना
मतलब
रुकना
इश्यूज
क्यों है?
बहुत जब पहले से ही आने लगते हैं, वहीं से उन
Exactly,
इश्यूज को
my
सॉर्ट
point.
करेंगे, एक इशू से दूसरा इशू बन सकता है, दूसरे
I
से
agree.
तीसरा इशू बन सकता है.
I agree, and I believe it follows in criteria only. Once your torso is down, till then you might need a therapist. While your head is submerged, then you might need a psychiatrist. You might need medications. You might need professional treatment. I don't cure people. I have never claimed I do so. I just help people turn their lives better. I make them into a peak performance machine. I have transitioned finally to becoming a men's performance mindset coach for a reason. I've worked with multiple women as well, of course. And it has never been about men are different, women are different, men versus women for me. I'm not that guy. I believe I do agree very strongly about gender roles though. I mean, I would never want my girl to pick up bags while I'm around. My mom raised me better than that, I would say.
So how did this transition happen? Like, why did you tune towards being a men's performance coach? And initially when you got clients which were women, what was your perspective? Like, how did your perspective change?
For sure. This is a very interesting question, I must say. It's got a funny story, and I hope I do not trigger anyone over here. While I spoke to a lot of women and I spoke to a lot of men as well, I realized that today we live in a time where a lot of women are very independent. They have a lot of survival energy because they've learned how to take care of themselves, right? They've had to protect themselves, they've had to save themselves, things like that. Now, one of the main misconceptions is that survival energy is translated into masculine energy. It's not really masculine energy, it is translated into masculine energy. Because survival energy is nothing but an attribute for a masculine side. The same way nurturing is an attribute for the feminine side. It's just an attribute. That's it. We live in a time where a lot of women have a lot of survival energy, right? I'm sure you must have come across guys where you really intimidated them.
Yes.
And I'm sure that most of the times you must be feeling like, these today men are not really manning up.
Yes. So, some of these thoughts do arise.
It's
like
not
when,
just unique to you. It's pretty much most women I've spoken to. That's when I realized that today the problem is not that women have a lot of survival energy. The problem is there's a certain lack of masculinity within men. To help that issue is exactly why I transitioned into being a high performance man's coach.
This is a new thing that I'm hearing. I always used to feel like men, like they know what they're doing, they exactly have their path clear. Or I think the biggest thing that I've really seen women talking about is that they don't understand men. Like when it comes about that emotional frequency, like how does that work? Like, what do you have to say to these women who are not able to understand how a man thinks and feels?
I think the answer to that is pretty simple. I think women were raised always knowing what to expect from men and how to be treated. And men were always raised on respecting women and how to treat them. So you all never really understood how to treat us and what we expect. I think there's a certain disparity between there. I do believe today most men know exactly what women want. That's why we work towards it to become desirable. I don't think most women know what men want. Because I mean, today if I could ask you, then give me 5 criterias what men look for.
I think I would have to say a few things maybe there, but I would like to know from you then what women need to hear on this. Like, what do men exactly want? Even if they don't say it, they don't talk about it.
Of course, we won't. We never talk about it.
But why?
The moment we talk, you'll label us as misogynists.
But not everyone. Do you think every woman would really do that? Do you think people have tried expressing?
That's not my worry. I would say that every woman would do that because I do not believe all women or all men are the same.
Right.
But unfortunately, women do get influenced by other women. Today, when you read magazines and with these magazines and blog posts tell you what men want, they are written by women. Why don't you all just ask men? I don't think it's that difficult.
I am asking a very handsome man today, like what women exactly want.
I'm honored. For sure,
and
I'll tell
what
you.
Men want.
Sure, I'll tell you. I think I speak on behalf of most men when I say this. Number one, she should be nurturing. If I'm fallen sick, I will not call the boys. I want my girl. Number two she should have nice hair. She should be attractive.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a very baseline thing I would
Right,
say.
right.
The third one, she should definitely be peaceful. I mean, I believe not just as a man, as a human being today, we live in a life where someone is out there who wants your job,
Right.
someone is out there who wants your partner, someone is out there who wants your life, right? So life is a constant battle, I would say. So when you go home, you want peace. So the third one I would say is, I would want her to be peaceful. Number four would be, she should be a balanced individual, where there's no constant emotional loud explosions. I mean, it should not
Anger
build up till
issues.
there. Yeah, she should be a balanced individual. I do not believe that's a lot to ask for.
Yes.
And number five, she should have a personality. Her personality, when I say, it should not be about, for example, what is the most off-putting thing for me, at least personally? Imagine, Priyanka, you met a guy whose entire personality is nothing but going to the gym. How would that make you feel?
Right. I think there are other elements, of course, that are needed.
Exactly. But imagine his entire personality is just the fact that he goes to the gym.
Right.
Can you imagine what kind of conversations would you have with this person? You'll be constantly annoyed, right? Like, what the hell are you doing? Correct? The same thing it is for me, for a woman whose entire personality is the fact that she's an independent adult. I mean, you're an independent adult. You
Right.
take care of yourself, which is great. Kudos to you. But that can't be your entire personality. Yeah.
Right. There should be much more to one's
Exactly.
personality than this. So now coming to women, so one complaint that I have often seen, and you must have also heard, is that men do not express. Like express as in, of course, they would tell a couple of needs that they have. Like they might tell, okay, I want you to be like this, respect me more, show less of anger issues, react maybe less or do not overreact. But then the main issue is why men do not express. As in, I'm talking about, say, saying things like, if I am angry with you and I tell you that, this thing has upset me, and they'll be like, okay, but they will never be acknowledging, or they'll never be like, okay, I understand what you're saying, maybe I'll not do it next time. And next time again it will happen, but then they would not show their emotions that, okay, yes, I understand. Like how girls are, you know what, I'm really sorry, maybe I feel it, I feel for you. So that kind of a situation happens mostly with women, where they are at least expressive, that I hear you. They say words, but men often do not say so much of I love you, or maybe, I care for you. I know it's very much evident through actions, but women sometimes need more of expressions from men.
Of
What
course.
do you have to say on that? How can we deal with that?
Do you watch Netflix?
Yes.
Subtitles on?
Oh.
Of course. Why? Because you never listen. You have to read.
Nah, but we can't.
One of the main issues I've honestly personally faced this well, and let me tell you guys, I've definitely dealt with more women than you have. 100%. In my personal life, in my professional life, everything combined together, I've definitely dealt with more women than you have. It's not the fact that men don't express. If you want to shut a man up, I'll tell you exactly what one does. The time he's opened up, the time he has been vulnerable, the time he's really let his guard down, and he's given you information. If you ever dare to use it against him, I promise you this guy is never going to talk again.
About his feelings or anything.
For sure.
The expression stops there.
Yes.
So is it
there.
like for men, there are
You're gonna
only
get-
limited
yeah.
chances? Like,
No, it's not limited chances. It's as simple as the fact that it's not the fact that we don't express, we've never tried. The men today have consciously shouted out for help. It's as simple as it gets, that no one's willing to listen. There's a huge difference between these genders, I would say. Now, of course, because I've lived as a man, I can only speak from my side. I'm not speaking here about women at all. And I don't want to make this a topic of gender discussion and gender disparity and gender equality at all. I'm just going to put forward my own view as a man. I have an older sister. I have an elder sister. She's 4 years older than me. I have seen that in my life, she could live just as a daughter and be respected for it. Moving on into life, she could just live as a wife and sit down in that role and still be respected for it. Tomorrow, she can become a mother. She will still be respected for it, loved and cared for it. I don't think these options apply to me. I can't just be a son. I can't just be a brother. I can't tomorrow just be a husband. Neither a father. It's as simple as it gets that as a man, your value is determined by how much you can provide. जब तक तेरे हाथ में पैसा है, तब तक दुनिया पूछेगी भाई कैसा है. It's as simple as it gets. It's not very difficult. While you aren't that place, like while I was not successful at a certain point in my life, I do not think I got the respect I got today. It's as simple as the fact that I had to earn my own respect. Today I can be proud of myself because I've earned that respect. It was not handed to me. It was not given to me. My life is built on credentials. I think that speaks volume, right? Now imagine when you live a life like that which you have built, and after that, someone tells you to be grateful about it. Shouldn't one be grateful about things they are given, not things they have earned? Am I correct?
Yeah.
So now imagine every single time as a man, I've tried to put my point out there. I've told people that I'm drained, I'm very stressed out, I need this. I need a little emotional comfort. I've always been told, some say, yeah, but you have a good life. You should be more grateful about it. You should look at this. You should look at the good side. Really? जब किसी को सुनना ही नहीं है तो मैं बोल के क्या करूं? Today every man sitting here, पूछ लो किसी भी इंसान को, ये जो भी सब मर्द ये पूरे स्टूडियो में बैठे हैं, पूछ लो लास्ट टाइम किसने इनको बैठ के सिर्फ पूछा था कि भाई कैसा है, सब कुछ सही है कि नहीं, कैसा फील हो रहा है? कोई पूछता नहीं है हमें. ये सिर्फ हम लोग औरतें और बच्चों को पूछते हैं, क्योंकि इज्जत तो सिर्फ उनकी करनी सिखाए ना हमें. मर्द को तो हम लोग हर कोई गाली देता है.
बट आपका फिर मतलब what's your conclusion on this, that how women can make this better, because we need a healthy relationship. Every
Definitely
woman
we do.
wants to understand
I would
men.
say please show more kindness towards men. I agree, if you had a bad experience with a certain man, it does not mean that the entire pathway of mankind is terrible. Be a little kinder to men. Sit down with your father, brother, boyfriend, husband, whoever it might be, and just tell them once in a while that how much you appreciate everything they do for you. And I promise you're going to make this guy's day. उसका दिन बन जाएगा यार.
And then they are going to express more. When I'm saying express more, I am not just simply talking about expressing about their problems, which you gave a solution to already, that speak to men, try to understand them, and do not use anything against them.
Yeah, and try to follow a very conscious thing. If you ever ask a man, once a man starts talking, एक बार मर्द बात करना चालू करता है ना, 30 सेकंड तक मन में गिनो, सिर्फ कुछ बोलो मत, क्योंकि अगर तुमने भी बोला ना तो वो रुक जाएगा उधर और फिर बात नहीं करेगा वो. Because men hate being interrupted. I think it's one of my biggest issues, I would say. Being interrupted is the biggest turn off for me. You can't expect a conversation with me if you are going to interrupt me constantly.
Right. I think I get that, and I give that to you, that it's very important that we have an open ear and we also try to understand that what the other person needs and what is his desire. I really want you to emphasize on one more thing, which is expressing in other ways, like expressing the love. Women want more expressions, like more acknowledgement, more romance. And I have a question about romance also, which we'll get to later. But first, I want to understand how this problem could be solved, where men can say "I love you" more often. Maybe I know it's a given thing. I get it. But then things like when I have an argument with you, sometimes the argument just doesn't end. Like if I say very clearly that I felt really bad when you said that in front of everyone, or when you mentioned that thing, I keep telling you that this thing hurts me. But a man sometimes is like, you know what, you're overreacting. You know what, this is not even that important. Why are we bringing it up? And the entire conversation becomes an argument. My thing here is not men versus women, which is your thing also. Yeah. Men and women, how they can have a healthy relationship is what I want to know from you. How can they express more?
How men can express more, or how women can express more?
Men. Like
Men will-
more I love yous or more acknowledgement that I'm sorry, I understand that you felt bad. So sometimes men also become like, hey, you are overreacting. They just assume that because a woman maybe she would have
Of
overreacted
course.
or
No,
underreacted.
I completely understand. To be very honest with you, a lot of men do not have emotional awareness.
That is what I wanted to hear.
I'm sorry, most men do not have emotional awareness.
Yeah.
It's a trait which is blessed by women. Like, for example, today, if any man would just put your hand on your shoulder, you would instantly understand if it's a good touch or a bad touch, right? That's emotional awareness. Most men have no idea that women even have this. Now imagine how far we are from the concept of emotional awareness. Self-work is a very active thing which I had to do a lot to understand what emotional awareness is. I had to understand how feelings work. I had to understand how to speak things in a certain way, how to articulate so well that a sensitive person would not be offended.
Right.
It takes a lot of self-work. I could do all of this because I earned the freedom of time. Once I transitioned from my business, I had a lot of free time to give myself to do these things. A lot of men do not have this. They do not have this privilege or the luxury to do it. And when they do, they don't do it because it's very alien to them. Growing requires being uncomfortable. People get comfortable in their spaces. And today we live in a time where everything is so convenient that life is very comfortable.
Right.
Yeah, so I would say to
How can
answer
we
your
reduce
question,
the gap and
yeah,
have a healthy relationship?
yes. So to understand the simple fact of men being able to express more, I think y'all are looking at a very unrealistic goal. Men are not going to express as much.
In one of these questions, you mentioned fulfillment. So I am very curious to know how one can feel fulfilled, because as we discussed, not everybody knows their purpose, but everybody's goal is happiness or fulfillment. That is what they want to achieve. They want to feel good always. How one can attain fulfillment?
For sure. I believe fulfillment is a very rooted feeling to start off with. Like, for example, let's talk about happiness. Happiness is a very switch on, switch off emotion. Today, if you're hungry and I give you your favorite burger, you might feel really happy, right? You might feel a certain level of happiness. 45 minutes later, I give you the same burger. You should feel happier technically, but that won't happen. इंसान एक बार खुश हो गया, ठीक है, फिर जब तक वो दुख एक्सपीरियंस नहीं करेगा, उसे खुशी क्या है पता ही नहीं होगी. इसलिए वो कहते हैं कि जितना दुख तुम एक्सपीरियंस कर सको, उतनी खुशी तुम एक्सपीरियंस कर सकोगे. Correct? So clearly it is not a balanced emotion. It's an unhinged emotion, I would say. Correct? Fulfillment isn't like that. I believe fulfillment only comes and happens when you're true to your nature. When you're true to your nature and you create an impact worth exploring is when you feel fulfilled. मुझे इतना एक्साइटमेंट एक बड़े चेक से नहीं होता है जितना एक्साइटमेंट मुझे होता है when someone shakes my hand, gives me a shoulder bump and tells me thank you genuinely for changing my life. मेरा दिन बन जाता है यार. I think that's fulfilled.
How do people realize or understand what can fulfill their lives? Like how they can do it for themselves too?
Definitely. It's as simple as it gets when you find yourself first. I believe self-awareness is key. खुद को जानना चाहिए अच्छे से. पूछो सवाल खुद को. पूछो खुद को कि क्या कर रहे हो आज. पूछो खुद को तुम इधर पहुंचे कैसे. पूछो खुद को जिधर तुम्हें पहुंचना है ये रास्ता उधर जाता भी है जिस रास्ते पे तुम हो. अगर ऐसे सवाल तुम खुद को पूछते हो ना, मतलब तुम जेन्युइनली खुद के लिए सोच पा रहे हो. प्रॉब्लम ये है कि आज की डेट में हम लोग ऐसा टाइम जी रहे हैं जिधर अगले महीने रेंट भरना है, घर का खर्चा कैसे निकलेगा, ये प्रोजेक्ट खत्म हुआ कि नहीं, ये सारी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज के बीच में इंसान को सोचने का टाइम ही नहीं मिलता. खुद के लिए इंसान सोचेगा ही नहीं तो जिएगा कैसे. एंड टू बी वेरी ऑनेस्ट विथ यू, आई हैव तो रियलाइज्ड वी लिव इन अ टाइम जिधर काफी लोगों को सोचना भी नहीं आता आज. वो सोचना भूल चुके. इतनी सारी टेंशन है कि सोचेगा किधर इंसान, राइट? और कोई भी खुद के लिए बुरा सोच ही नहीं सकता. लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल टुडे लेट्स से यू हैड अ बैड डे, राइट? आई एम श्योर यू हैड मेनी बैड डेज इन योर लाइफ. आस्क योरसेल्फ, इन एनी ऑफ दीज डेज कोई भी सुबह उठ के खुद को पूछा है कि आज का दिन मैं कैसे खराब करूं खुद के लिए? कोई ऐसा सोचता नहीं है, राइट? मतलब खुद के लिए कोई बुरा सोच ही नहीं सकता है। तो तुम्हें सोचना आना चाहिए, क्योंकि एक चीज का गारंटी है भाई, खुद के लिए बुरा कोई सोच नहीं सकता है। सोचना सीख लो, नॉट दैट डिफिकल्ट। सेल्फ अवेयरनेस इज की।
So you have dealt with so many people. You have come across several unique cases.
I've been very fortunate to.
Yes. So, what are the 3 most common traits that you have seen in hyper successful people?
Sure. A lot of people have said this, and it's very interesting to know the 3 most successful traits of hyper successful people. Right. First one, all of them have a superiority complex. They believe that they deserve more than others. It's number 1. Number 2, all of them, they have massive insecurity issues. They keep on doubting themselves if they will ever be enough. And number 3, they all have high impulse control.
And people who lack these things, so you feel that there is a dire need of people paying attention to these traits, like they should really learn this from successful people. They should.
I mean, definitely they should. I mean, let's face it. History has said that if you do not follow history, you will become a part of history. If you don't learn from history, you will be nothing but a part of history.
Right.
Correct?
Right.
If there are scrolls, literature, books determining exactly what they have done, it's easier to follow, right? All you have to do is read about it. I mean, think about it this way. Today, everything you know. आज तुम्हें जो भी पता है, तुम जो भी सोचते हो, तुम्हें जिसमें भी जेन्युइन बिलीफ है, प्लीज एक बार पूछो खुद को, हैव यू डन अ थॉरो इन्वेस्टिगेशन ऑन इट, हैव यू डन रिसर्च अबाउट इट, कि तुम लोग को सिर्फ ये पता है क्योंकि किसी और ने तुम लोग को ये बोला है। कितने लोगों ने बैठ के पढ़ा है चीजें, पढ़ना तो सबको ही आता है, पढ़ लो। Right? Reading, I think, is a very important aspect of life. Now, a lot of people tell me that, yeah, but I watch videos, I look at podcasts, I do this, I do that, so I'm also reading, I'm also, reading. I understand, but think about it, बहुत सिंपल वे में समझाता हूँ मैं। आज इधर एक बुक रखी है, ठीक है, इसमें से मैं पहले पढ़ूंगा, फिर वो पढ़ेंगे, इमेजिन 10 लोग पढ़ेंगे और फिर 10वां इंसान आके तुम्हें वो ट्रांसलेट करेगा, तुम्हें You think तुम्हें वो इन्फॉर्मेशन मिला है जो बुक में लिखा है? You think really that? Do you really believe that? Now imagine जिसने पढ़ा है और जो बोल रहा है उसके बीच में 100 लोग डाल दो, उसको जो मैसेज मिलेगा वो तो पूरा अलग ही रहेगा ना। It's so simple.
So reading is very important.
Exactly, क्योंकि I believe it is very 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 crucial to know कि तुम यूनिक केस नहीं हो। आज तक अगर हम लोग काउंट करें ना कि मेरे पहले कितने लोग रहे हैं दुनिया में, या हम में से किसी में कितने लोग हमारे पहले रहे दुनिया में, दुनिया में इतने लोग आज तक रह के जा चुके हैं, जैसे तुम्हारी प्रॉब्लम कुछ यूनिक हो ही नहीं सकती है। डेफिनेटली किसी और ने ये सेम प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व की है और उसके बारे में लिख दिया है किधर तो, राइट?
But the more you read, even self-awareness, I think a lot of books have been written on this.
Yeah, I agree. And honestly speaking, I'm a very avid reader. I roughly read around 60 books a year.
Which are your favorite books? One that you recommend, go pick it today.
Go pick it today. So I believe reading comes only with flow of reading. I understand the flow of reading really well. कोई भी तुम बुक उठा के पढ़ के ऐसा बुक खत्म कर लोगे, सीख लोगे, ऐसे नहीं होता। लोग यूजुअली 2 पेजेस रख के बुक रख क्यों देते? Because they don't understand the flow of reading. आज की डेट में when I read, I understand through airbrushing exactly how much do I need to read, what all is needed.
So you mentioned books. Yes, I agree. People should read books. So, and you also mentioned that you are an avid reader.
Yeah.
So, and you read 60.
I read around 60 books a year. Honestly speaking, during COVID, it was almost 100 books I read in that year.
Nice.
I had a lot of free time, yeah.
So you read fiction or just?
I read a lot of things. Not to be very honest with you, I only read things which I need to learn.
Okay.
I don't bother wasting my time. I will not sit and read a rom-com novel because it doesn't help me understand that. The first book I would suggest for you all to read is a book which is written in a very simple language. It is just to make you understand कि भाई जिधर तुम देखोगे उधर ही तुम जाओगे. For example, anyone who's ever ridden a bike, जो भी 2-wheeler आज तक जिसने भी चलाया है ना, ask them one very simple question कि भाई तू जिधर देखता है बाइक उधर ही जाती है. He will tell you of course. तू खड्डे को देखते जाएगा ना, बाइक खड्डे में ही जाएगी. आई प्रॉमिस यू. ये उसूल है मेरा नहीं, ये नेचर का लॉ है. तुम जिधर देखोगे उधर तुम जाओगे. द सीक्रेट टीचेस यू एग्जैक्टली दैट. The Secret by Rhonda Byrne. It teaches you exactly that. It's a very simple written book. So I would suggest for someone who's never read that book. It's a very simple flow. It will at least teach you how to read. Reading, everyone knows English, everyone can read, right? But how to read is a very important aspect most people don't understand.
Right, how to read.
Develop the flow of reading, I would say.
I mean, do you read the entire book or do you take like the crux of it, like some chapters that you really like?
I'm a very fast reader because, again, understand this, I've been reading since a child. I grew up reading Amar Chitra Katha, Archie's, different novels, the thesaurus, encyclopedias, things like that. But touchwood, my mom had always encouraged me reading a lot. She was like, okay, Yathash is not going out to play football and things like that, he's sitting and reading. She would encourage me even sitting in the garden and reading a book.
So that, I think, from childhood itself, this is a habit that one should develop, and if they haven't developed it yet, then they should pick a book right
yes,
now.
I believe
and they can
it is
start
very
with
helpful.
a simple one. And I think another simple book that I read is Who Cries When You Die? Who will cry when you die? It's a small thin book, but it's amazing. It has small chapters, and every day you get to read about small changes that can bring big impact in your life. So yeah, I agree. Read a lot of books. So now that you have met so many different people, I also want to know one thing, which is very important. People blame things on their circumstances. Usually, they feel like, okay, I am feeling this way because my breakup happened, or I am feeling this way because there was an event, or there's something that has happened in the office. That's why I don't have the confidence. So people usually blame things on their circumstances. So how does one make peace with their circumstances and yet bring bigger changes in their life?
I don't believe one should make peace with their circumstances. I believe one should try their level best to change them. I believe one should put in the work rather than sit there and wallow in pity. I mean, breakups are hard, I get it. So is losing a loved one.
Right.
But if you need to understand that whatever start is supposed to end, right? I mean, it is a cycle at the end of the day. The answer to that is self-work. I have always said this very strongly, that self-empowerment is preceded by self-responsibility. Like self-responsibility, I'm so sorry. Self-responsibility precedes self-empowerment. Unless and until you're not willing to put your finger down, stop blaming everyone else. Take responsibility of why you are in the circumstance because of the way your actions have landed you up here. Take responsibility for that. Once you take responsibility for that, then at least you can start working towards the change you want or you deserve. Correct?
So I understood from our conversation till now that self-awareness, self-reflection, work on yourself, that all these things are very important. And if you are struggling with things, then you can choose either a therapist or a psychiatrist or a mindset coach based on what problem you're facing. But honestly, all these are very expensive. I am not saying that they are so expensive that nobody can afford it. It's not like that.
You're
but then
right. People who afford it usually will try question it, right?
Yeah, and that's what stops people. They want to take that action, but they always feel like, let me save this 50,000. First, build that small habits, or maybe just start with reading a book. They'll try to cure it themselves.
Of course.
And down the line, that hasn't happened. But then again, they'll be like, okay, let me have a therapist. And then they're like, oh, who will give 2,000 rupees per session?
Sure.
And so many sessions I would need. So what do you have to say to these people who are not willing to put that money, or who don't have money maybe to put into this?
I've had multiple clients where they've not been able to afford it, and they've done whatever they could to find the money and then don't. All right. And honestly speaking, these are the kinds of people who drive me to make sure that they don't fail. Plus, I work with a money back guarantee. I believe that if I did enough, I've wasted your time. If you worked with me, I will return everything you've given me plus another 5%. Because my work is very sacred to me. Right. Moving on, let me tell you what I've learned from my life. एक चीज मैंने बहुत अच्छी सीखी है. मैंने मेरे पहले 10,000 कमाए थे ना, मुझे 1,000 रुपए गंवाने पड़े थे. तब जाके मैंने 10,000 कमाए. मैंने जाके 10,000 घुमाए, तब जाके मैंने 1 लाख कमाया. जब पॉइंट आया 10 लाख कमाने का, 1 लाख तो गंवाना पड़ा ना.
So basically it's simple.
Yeah, it's you need to understand as simple as the fact कि आज तुम जैसे गोल्ड लेते हो, तुम जैसे एफडी कराते हो, म्यूचुअल फंड कराते हो, वो क्या है? वो नथिंग बट इन्वेस्टमेंट है. तुमने स्कूल में इतना फीस भरा, कॉलेज में इतना फीस भरा, थिंग्स लाइक दैट, वो सब कुछ गिनाओ, look at that investment and see where you are today in your life. Correct? An investment like this within yourself is creating a question to you that means this is nothing but self-doubt. Your fear of failing is holding you back from taking the first step. मेरा जो okay, one of the funniest guys and the craziest guys I've worked with. Okay, his name is, I can tell you his name because he's great. His name is Swapnil. Okay, जब ये मुझे मिला था बंदा, he could not afford my services, but he knew this is exactly what he needs to change his life. I had told him that this is what my price is, this is what it's going to cost you to achieve whatever you need to achieve. He said, all right. वो बंदे को इतना बिलीफ था मुझ पे कि he went home, उसने उसके मॉम के जेवर लिए और जाके पैसा लेके आया उधर से.
Because the hunger and need was there. So
Exactly.
What is very important is that people need to realize that this is one thing that I need to work on.
Exactly.
It's going to get me from A to B. And even if I have to invest money, time, whatever into it, I need to do it.
Yeah, and when he took a step like that, now I'm not very clear on the details, right? But he did go to someone else and ask them for their help, and he managed to sort out the money. When he paid me, firstly, my heart felt so heavy that wow, there are actually people like this who want the help, but they cannot afford it. It kind of broke my heart, to be honest, as well. But the effort this guy has shown today, and I started working with him around Jan or Feb, and at that point of time, he had told me, Yathash, I have a lot of debt already on my head. And now, if I have to pay you, मुझे और debt collect करके तुम्हें pay करना पड़ेगा. I looked at him and told him, I'm not encouraging you to do that. I would say, finish that debt, figure things out, then come back. But this guy was so hungry and desperate. He was like, नहीं, अगर मुझे करना है तो मुझे कल से करना है. And today, before the year ends, he's almost debt free. He's changed his entire life around. He's tripled his income today.
Nice.
Yeah.
And all those fear or self-doubt that maybe he had been carrying.
No, nothing. Today, this guy has no insecurities. This guy doesn't have any self-doubt. He's adapted to the mindset I have as well. There is a thing I read this very recently, कि myself to me, कि मेरी आवाज मुझे क्या बोलती है, that everyone is against you. और मैं मेरी आवाज को क्या बोलता हूँ, that everyone will lose.
So, what's your conclusion? That when do people, when should someone wake up and be like, okay, I need to now go and hire a mindset coach or a therapist or a psychiatrist? I just want a conclusion that मेरे साथ क्या प्रॉब्लम होगी जब मैं ऐसा सोचूंगी कि now we have to do this.
I think first question you need to ask yourself is, do you want to feel good or do you want to actually do better in your life?
Okay.
If feeling good is something you are working towards, then definitely none of these people are going to help you do that.
Feeling good is something that takes a lot of self-work, which we already discussed.
Yes, but I believe if you are just going to chase feelings in your entire life, so it's not going to be a purposeful life.
Right.
If you want to do better in your life, it might lead you to a purposeful life. So I would say I think the brain is a very, very, very complex and exciting thing. When your mind can make you think, do I need to hire a coach? Then maybe it is a calling from inside only. अंदर से ये सोच आ रही है, right?
Right.
And then maybe it is time. They say the universe will give you signs.
Right.
तुम्हें पढ़ना कितना आता है उस पे डिपेंड करता है ना.
Right. We often put it under the rug.
Exactly.
I think that voice sometimes, a lot of times tells us do this, do that, but we are like, it's okay, we'll do it later. So I think that's our problem. So guys, one very important message that we have here is realize what you need in life. If you really feel you're stuck somewhere, you want to reach from A to B and you think you need someone's help, please do not listen to other people who pull you down or who maybe say don't waste money on this. Just listen to yourself. This money that you will spend on yourself will be worth it. So men's issues and women's issues have been different. You already spoke to so many men and women. Now that you have transitioned into being a men's high performance mindset coach, why leaving that entire segment of women? Because they need a lot of attention.
Of course they do.
They need a lot of good, tricks and techniques to build their life, because they are now coming up with this, that I want to be fit. Earlier, not a lot of women used to go to the gym or take care of their fitness, but now a lot of them are going. So why not? Why you chose to leave that segment?
For sure, because I believe we live in a world where, firstly, no woman wants to listen to a man. Correct? Women empowerment is a real thing. अगर तुम लोग को ये सब करना है, तो have another woman teach you. Let me go help the men. I think my place is better suited there. I think I speak to men more clearer.
You connect with men.
It helps them resonate. Basically, I believe my entire journey as a mindset coach is I have to lead by example. If they see that this is the kind of man I really want to become today, that's when they want to work with me. I have to lead by example, right? And with the women, it's the other way around. If I show them an example, they want to have different intentions. And which is an issue for me. It becomes unprofessional.
Okay, so there have been cases where women tried to hit on you while
all the time.
While you were like, is there any weird case that just came up? Who were like, okay, you are handsome, I want you as my coach, but I want this and that also.
Yes, quite a few, I would say. Unfortunately, yes, quite a few.
Yeah.
I have realized that through personal experience, I have realized what the media shows you and what realities are very different. I'm sorry, but I have seen more women who are creeps and perverted than men. It is true. No means no, सिर्फ लड़कों के लिए.
बना होना चाहिए दूसरी साइड में भी. No means no.
I mean, think about it this way. आज इधर बैठे हम लोग, ठीक है? When a girl says no, it's a no. बराबर. मर्द के पास ये ऑप्शन थोड़ी है भाई. फॉर एग्जाम्पल टुडे लेट्स आस्क हिम, भाई तू दोस्तों के साथ बैठा था लास्ट, कभी बैठा था? कभी जब भी बैठा रहेगा, ठीक है? इमेजिन तेरे को फोन आता है कि चल भाई अभी मेरे को घर जाना है, और तेरे को बोलते अरे बैठना 5 मिनट और, तू बोलेगा नहीं नहीं, वो बोलेगा वापस बैठना 5 मिनट और. इवेंचुअली होगा क्या?
बैठना ही पड़ेगा.
क्योंकि नो मीन्स नो होता ही नहीं है ना हम लोग के लिए.
नो मीन्स
तू कुछ भी बोल, लड़के पिटाई देते हैं भाई.
तो लड़कियां,
and it's beautiful, I love it.
बट लड़कियां सुनती हैं क्या लड़के जो बोलते हैं नो इज नो?
लड़कियां सुनती है, इधर सुनती है वरना चप्पल फेंकती है. इधर एक चीज होनी चाहिए, वो उस पर भी डिपेंड करता है तुम्हारे पास क्या है. लाइक एज अ गाय आई बिलीव, मेरे एक बहुत अच्छे दोस्त ने, his name is Yash. Big shout out to Yash as well. He's a great guy. He lives in Delhi and he had told me this one thing, भाई तू बंदा है, and he's from Delhi, so you know how he speaks, right? He just goes like, तू बंदा है भाई, इधर तेरे पास बॉडी होनी चाहिए या ऑडियो होनी चाहिए, तभी तेरा कुछ गलेगा इधर. And he acts exactly talks like this, which is hilarious, right? But it's quite profound when he really says it. I mean, your value is going to be determined by how much you provide. Simple.
So women who earn a lot of money, but then other factors also contribute to a healthy relationship. True. Or what are the other factors that you feel are very, very important in a healthy relationship?
Understanding, trust and respect. For women, your currency is love and attention. As a woman, the more y'all are loved, the more attention we shower with y'all, is how heard y'all feel, how valued y'all feel, right? How important y'all feel. For a man, it's respect. It's not about love. How respectful I feel around you will make me want to treat you the way I treat you. And I don't think most women understand our currency. A lot of men understand a woman's currency. That's an issue. Plus, I think at the same time, what you're talking about is a very different story, right? You said the more a woman earns, the higher she climbs on the ladder. I believe the more y'all do that, the smaller your bracket gets.
That is also true.
It's true, because think about it this way, right? The more high value you are, like in terms of status symbol, in terms of money, in terms of things, women don't date down. Again, most women don't date down. If you're counting an exceptional, that's a different story. Exceptions don't apply here. But most women do not date down. Most women only date where they are, or they date up. They cannot date down. Men don't care about things like this. Like, I'll give you a very simple example. If my girlfriend worked at McDonald's, when she's leaving, I would probably tell her something like, can you bring me a box of chicken nuggets from McDonald's when you're coming home after your shift? I promise you, she wouldn't date me if I was working at McDonald's. So clearly, the higher up I'm climbing, my options are becoming more and more. The higher up you all climb, your options get lesser and lesser. Because there's comparatively, if you go to see, there's a higher group of men who are unsuccessful and who are still figuring things out. To find a guy who's, even my example, today I fall under the category of an ideal man. I'm 6'2", I'm muscular, I earn really well, I'm financially independent, I'm a balanced individual, I'm emotionally very available and aware, I speak very respectfully, I can sit with the boys and have chai at the tapri, or I can have a 7-course meal with a oyster fork. I'm good to go to both the places. I'm very versatile that way.
Right.
So I form under the whole category of the ideal man, you know. I never wanted to be. But because of my achievements and credentials, today I'm here where I am.
Yeah. Because most importantly, you worked on yourself.
Of course,
and you had
I
a
did.
purpose in life.
That goes without saying, yeah. It's not about man or women now. Everyone should work on themselves.
Definitely. And what is the difference between purpose and goal?
A goal is something which can be met. A purpose is something which is followed for life.
So people who don't know their purpose at all, they can ask themselves what is their purpose. They can ask certain questions.
I can tell you exactly how I've realized where I help most people figure out their purpose. I believe all the questions you ask, the answers are found within. All the questions asked, the answers are found within. However, you will need the right guy to sit down and ask you the right questions. There's a good chance maybe you're not asking the right questions.
Correct. That is why
I think that's where it differentiates between talking to a friend versus talking to a coach.
Right.
Or talking to a friend is not going to have well-formed outcomes, but talking to a coach is going to give you well-formed outcomes and a strategic path on how to meet them.
Right. So अभी पूरा बम्बल टिंडर चल गया है. Now it's more like आज ये लड़की आज ये लड़का. So cheating के cases भी बहुत बढ़ गए हैं. So इस पूरे सिनेरियो में फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल व्हाट डू यू हैव टू से अबाउट चीटिंग? दूसरा चीज कैसे
are we talking about cheating or are we talking about the hookup culture?
Hookup culture which could lead to cheating because अब अगर आपके 4 लोग लाइन में हैं, आपके पास 4 लड़के हैं, 4 लड़कियां हैं, you can always be like, हाँ मेरी इससे लड़ाई, मेरा किसी के भी साथ कमिटमेंट नहीं है.
I don't mind having this conversation, but then you can't feel bad about it. If everyone's okay doing that, I don't mind sitting and having this conversation.
If you stop doing men, women, then I will stop feeling bad or anything at all. I'll be happy. Tell me.
Okay, to understand hookup culture, let's just understand one thing. According to you, who controls the sex between the genders, men or women? Who controls the sex? I mean, the day you meet someone, a guy has to work and earn the sex, right? A woman will give it. Correct? So who do you think controls giving sex?
Women.
Correct? So women have control over sex. Correct? So if hookup culture has happened, who do you think is the one to encourage it?
My God, I was not. Don't deviate this, okay? It is not who started this or who ended this. It's more about keeping that relationship so strong that men and women should not go to other men and women. But because of this culture, I don't know because of which reason, but this is happening. How can we stop this? I mean, how?
You cannot stop nature.
Yeah. So
You cannot
cheating
stop
will
nature.
keep happening. Like why cheating occurs in the first place? What's your take on that?
Cheating occurs because people cannot deal with unhappiness, emotional impulses. I believe if you cannot walk away from lust, you're a very weak man. It's the sign of a weak man. Correct? I believe we are living in a time where masculinity is criminalized and killed. More men need to step up, be more masculine. We've come from a time where they caused a revolution over a 2% tax. 2% टैक्स पे रेवोल्यूशन उठ गया था और आज हम लोग 18% सिर्फ जीएसटी पे कर रहे हैं. You see how where we were from to where we are. Our ancestors were people who went around, survived wars, hunted, did everything they could to survive everything they could. And today here we have men saying कि सुनीता ने मुझे छोड़ के चली गई. So, we have come from a crazy point in history to today. in the present day, you have guys like, you have a lot of guys who have spoken for men, who are today there. Like two of the guys, I'm never going to say I look up to these guys, but I do agree with quite a few things they say. I don't agree with quite a few things they say as well. But the Tate brothers, for example, I believe they are very crazy on the spectrum. I believe, but however, if they were not there, then the whole scale would have been imbalanced. Today, these guys stand up as symbols of masculinity. Andrew Tate is the most recognized guy in the whole world today, to the point where the government has gone after him. We all can see this, right? We all can observe this. He went in for human trafficking without any proof, any court case really made for him. It was all scripted. The same way Salman Khan's driver was driving. You can tell when it is scripted or not. I think the whole world has become a big boss today. Everyone's doing their own thing. तो दुनिया में जगह ढूंढने से अच्छा खुद की जगह बना लो दुनिया में. Make sense,
तो
right?
चीटिंग रुक जाएगा.
चीटिंग तो तुम रोक नहीं पाओगे. खुद मत करो. I think it's as simple as it gets. चीटिंग तुम रोक नहीं पाओगे, पर खुद नहीं करोगे तो एक चीज तो कंट्रोल हो जाएगी ना. शायद सब लोग ऐसा तुम्हें देख के 4 लोग और ऐसा सोच ले बन जाए. 4 लोग को देख के 16 लोग ऐसे बन जाए. नेक्स्ट थिंग यू नो, खत्म हो गया. Trends तो catch on like that only.
But don't you think for some people, love, relationship and physical intimacy, I won't say intimacy, sex is a different thing than a relationship. So I could be in a relationship, but then if I'm somewhere and if it's an instant thing, so people will only love that person, would only want to be with that person, but then might still end up having maybe a casual sex or something which doesn't feel anything.
You could be non-monogamous by nature.
Yeah, that is what
you can be non-monogamous by nature, but the question becomes very simple. Is your partner okay with it? Is your partner acceptful of your nature? Are they accepting of you? If they are, you're good to go, great, you have no problem. But if you don't, if you're going to lie, you're going to hide it, you're going to cheat behind your partner's back, that's an issue.
So do you think people will talk openly about like monogamy, polygamy? Like,
I mean, yes, it has become quite accepting of today because of Western culture, which I do believe has really ruined the concept. I think nowadays people who are falling into impulses are also saying that, oh no, maybe my nature is that.
Right. That's what.
It's basically justifying an action.
Right.
And वो बोलते हैं ना कि निभाने की फितरत होनी चाहिए. वजह तो लोग गुनाह करके भी ढूंढ ही लेते हैं.
But the one who does that, I think, yes, you are right. Giving in to your impulses says a lot about you in general.
It shows how weak your willpower is.
And that situation might arise again.
Of course.
So do you think such relationships should just end, or they are not fruitful?
I believe it is none of my business what relationship is fruitful or not. I think it is, however, in my control to determine all the relationships I have with people. And I promise you.
But is it healthy, unhealthy? Like if someone actually gets to know about the cheating.
Anything that adds to your life is healthy.
Okay. Anything that puts it down, of course. I think, yeah, that is there. I think it was an interesting session. Thank you so much for being so transparent and honest. I think while we go, I really want you to give a message to our viewers, like how they can really stop juggling with their thoughts, like should I have a coach, should I have this or that, and arrive at a decision maybe. And after listening to this podcast, I think they would have got some answers.
Definitely.
So do you have any message for our viewers?
For sure. I have a really interesting thing, guys, I heard, which I would like to pass on to you all. It really helped me, and I hope it helps all of you as well. People will only see you the way they want to see you, the way they need to see you. A lot of people, for this exact reason, will make enemies out of you. Why? So that they don't have to take any responsibility. And for the very same reason, a lot of people will think very highly of you, because they do believe that they are responsible to behave that way if they want to be a part of your life. The answer is, you are neither of them. You have to be your own person and let the other person decide. Life is a very single player game. This isn't about anyone else.
This is about you.
So if you are someone who's actually looking to find out who you want to be or who you are, come contact me. Let's speak. You can look at my page at tashthecoach.com, or you can always look at my Instagram at Yathash. It's Yathash Mindset Coach.
Guys, we are going to put that in comments. Do reach out to him or other coaches, and at least have that one round of discussion with them, so that you could understand that, do I need this or not? Very important question that I have for you is, before we go, if I sign up with you and say you are my coach, so how my next 2-3 months would look like? What would be the exact next steps?
So the next steps, that's quite interesting. So first thing first, what we would do is we would sit down and form the well-formed outcomes for you. I will help you figure out exactly what your purpose is. Can you imagine sitting across someone who truly will be able to understand exactly what you feel? Who will tell you exactly what you need to hear? Who will be the medium of transferring what you mean versus what you say? When you sit across someone like that, they will ask you a lot of questions, which will help you figure out a lot of things. To make it more interesting, I believe anyone who books an appointment with me, looking at this podcast, it will be free of charge.
Nice. I think free consultation never harms. They would get to know, I think, a lot of things.
Of
A
course
lot
they
of things we already discussed, but they can ask you any questions, right?
Definitely.
Yes, great. And thank you so much for being so open to coming on this show and helping people and giving this free consultation to people, so that you can help them get some answers to some of their burning questions. And with that, thank you so much, Yathash, for this. I think this consultation could really help people get answer to their burning questions. And thanks for being such a charm. You are so handsome, you're so good, and I really like how transparent you are. So guys, this is me, Priyanka, signing off, and please do let me know in the comment section if you were able to help you, or if you have any specific questions. I really like this about Yathash, that he's always kind to respond to comments and answer questions just like that. Thank you so
Lovely.
much.
It was genuinely lovely being here. Thank you so much to Celebrania as well, and everyone over here. I really appreciate the effort, and thank you so much for having me. It's been an honor.